Hey everybody, it's Wind Down Wednesday with Black Women Love Football. We got a great show for you on tonight. Not only will we be talking football, but grief, conquering it through the holidays. I know so many of you have shared once we posted the post that this is much needed. So we're excited about tonight. We're excited about you guys coming on. We're excited about your questions. We have some great professionals on, and we're just going to talk like girlfriends. How about that tonight? Stacey, give us the football lineup and what went on last week, and then we'll move into our show.
Okie dokie. So let me just say this. The Chiefs lost. Can we just praise God from whom all blessings flow for that? Okay.
Finally.
Okay. So what was crazy is then they come in and act crazy. Like, oh, it was a Super Bowl, it was this, it was that, it was none of that. Y'all lost, period. So I was ecstatic for that. What them Giants do this week? Lost. Okay, we knew that already. What did Cincinnati do this week?
Don't even talk about it.
I was just asking. I just thought that.
Hey, Andrea. Hey, Tifa.
Since I had the whole little, we had the who days on, who day, what day, whatever day y'all do, whatever that is, whatever y'all be saying. I just thought
that. Hey, Tony.
Okay, hey y'all. So I was just asking. The Eagles beat the Commanders. I see them green ladies popping in, so let me go on and say that and get that over. Yeah. The Eagles won. They beat the Commanders. I picked the Commanders, so I was a little bit, along the thing because hey, them Eagles girls is getting out of pocket too. So like,
the Giants didn't lose.
They didn't. I thought they lost. Remind me, who did y'all?
They was on a bye, Stacey.
Oh, okay.
They didn't lose because they didn't
let's be thankful for the bye. Like, let's hope that they buy some things and get some things together over the week. Because let me tell you something. Them brown and orange didn't do nothing with they bye week, okay? Nothing at all. So I do not, get on here and talk about everybody else's team without talking about mine. It's terrible. But let me just say this. It's hate week for us. We play them black and yellow people tomorrow in Cleveland. So, I got these Floridians coming in. They ain't ready for this weather. They like, how do we pack? Is we going to be able to fly out? They nervous. It's going to snow in the CLE tomorrow. Okay? So it's going to be a little wet. It's going to be a little snow. I have to remind them. I put a video up of me and one of my girlfriends who was a Steelers fan at the game last year. And in the last 5 seconds, a year ago yesterday, to be exact, Cleveland pulled through and won. So I'm looking for this same repeat to happen.
We letting go of the past.
Okay. Hey, I don't know why I gotta let go of the past when we hanging on the 6 rings, 6 dreams, and all of this every week. I gotta keep hearing about that from these people and that people. So I'm gonna have my moment right now, okay? Yeah. So and the Bears lost to the Patriots. Shout out to Mal and her team for pulling through on that. So that was like the big games. I think the week was really the Steelers game and Kansas City game was really the games of the week for me last week. And yeah, so that was that. So that's all the wrap up that I have. Raiders lost. I see. Hey, Donna.
Hey, Hampton Hills.
And hey, Bears haven't been the same since y'all Hail Mary. I know that's right. So I'm gonna jump into so we'll have enough time for our guests to speak, for them to talk. And this is a very sensitive subject. So I am going to introduce them. We're talking about conquering grief through the holidays. And I believe this hits home for a whole lot of people. Um, and as I've talked to the panelists, I think everybody on this panel has really been affected by it. So I am very, very excited to have them on there. Um, all of these ladies are members of Black Women Love Football. So when we say we dig deep within and we, utilize our resources and we refer there, that's what we mean. So the first, I have to put my glasses on because she sent me her bio, y'all. And I think she thought that I was like 24 instead of 50. And so this little writing that she sent me, hey, but it's Mary. Mary Reed holds a JD, MSW, LISW. Mary has over 30 years of experience in working with children and families impacted by poverty, earning her master's degree from UIC John Marshall Law School in Chicago. She has worked as a social worker in child welfare, mental health, and school settings. She practices currently. She is the social service director at the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, Cincinnati District Council. She is on the board of Strategies to End Homelessness, St. Joseph's. Mary is a single mother of a 31-year-old son who is a graduate of the Ohio State University and Xavier University, and who is currently a school counselor. I don't know why it cut off, so you're gonna have to fill this in. But she began her journey and incorporate grief into her life without letting it overwhelm her. Her motto is be kind to everyone you meet, for everyone. What's the rest?
Is going through some kind of, has some kind of thing going on.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Next to her, we have Ashley Jameson. Ashley Jameson is a licensed independent social worker and a licensed independent chemical dependency counselor based in Cleveland, Ohio. Hey, shout out to the CLE. With over a decade of experience in the mental health field, Ashley specializes in helping Black women manage anxiety, depression, trauma, and substance use. Through her work at Rise Counseling Group, Ashley provides culturally competent therapy that supports Black women facing racial and emotional trauma, generational trauma, burnout, and perfectionism. Ashley's approach is holistic, integrating cognitive behavioral therapy, eye movement desensitization, and reprocessing, EMDR, and mindfulness-based practices to foster healing and empower clients to embrace their enoughness. Ashley offers telehealth services in Ohio and Illinois, extending support to clients seeking therapy through virtual sessions. As the author of Heal Queen, a self-care journal for Black women, Ashley offers a practical tool designed to help women reflect, heal, and prioritize their well-being amongst life demands. And I can say that, shout out for the Black Girl Magic. I ordered Ashley's book, and it's probably sitting on my porch right now because you know how Amazon delivers. So make sure that you and Ashley put the link in so on the comments where you can, so people can know where to get your book from. And lastly, we have Dr. Elena Barnes, who is not a stranger to us. And when she was on the last time, she was on her way to become Dr. Elena Barnes. She is now Dr. Elena Barnes. So congrats to her. Yay. And I'll let her introduce herself because Elena because she my big sister that she don't have to do what I asked her to do. So she didn't send me a bio for me to read. Okay. So I'll let her explain herself. Okay. So I'm going to turn the floor over. I'm going to say welcome, ladies. Thank you for agreeing to come and chit chat with the homegirls tonight. And I'm going to let Elena start just because I don't have her bio. So I'm going to ask her to tell us a little bit, and then we can roll from there. Okay?
She does know my bio.
My name is Elena Barnes, Johnson Barnes. I've known Stacy since she was a little middle school girl. We went to Christian school together. I'm not sure if it helped either one of us, but the parents were trying. I'll just leave it at that. I am a wife of over 30 years, a mom, a glam. I am a family nurse practitioner. I actually am right now hiding in the bathroom at Red Steakhouse at Pinecrest because I'm at a drug dinner, but I told the people I got to do this. So that's why the wall behind me is red. I'm at Red. So I became a nurse when I was 24. I'm 54 now. And now I'm a nurse practitioner. I work in urgent
Ladies,
care.
we getting some feedback. Who has the music in the background? Because we can hardly hear you.
Probably her.
I'm not sure. Is it? I'm not sure.
Somewhere music is playing.
Yeah, it's hers.
It might be Elena.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can you still hear it or no?
We can still hear it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you still hear it?
Mm-hmm.
I should. Well, the one thing that I do want to say, because the bio is not important, but I, like Susan, am the mom of a child that is in heaven. And it happened this time of year, November 27th, to be exact, 2008. She was 17 years old. And it was Thanksgiving Day. I spoke with her and she was on her way home. And that was the last conversation she had with me. So this is a hard time of year for me. So for this, I don't even really care about the bio. This is just a rough time of year for me. I still grieve, even though it's been much longer than Susan, what my daughter's children would look like. She wanted to be a nurse, but would she have done that or would she have changed? And this time of year, it's when the families get together and you really miss the person that's missing from the seat at the table. It's never okay. It'll never be okay. It's like a physical part of you is removed. It's like an empty space there, and you feel it. It's
Right.
physical. It's not just a mental thing. It's physical. And getting through this time of the year is very difficult. And I've unfortunately been on this journey a lot longer than Susan. So the way that I cope is to make every day, try to make her very proud of me. I celebrate her. I say her name all the time. I'm so proud of it. I named her Alexis Dominique from my favorite nighttime soap opera, Dynasty. And my daughter named her daughter Madison Alexis, and then the next daughter, Mackenzie Dominique. So we get to say the name all the time. And so we just keep her alive in that way. We do charity things this Friday. I'm doing Operation Giving Tree because her best friend was in foster care. So we do the Operation Giving Tree for Channel 8, giving toys to the people in foster care. We pass out things to the homeless, like go on the street to the people in the little tent villages, giving out stuff. So I keep her memory alive. And even down to when I get dressed, I'm like, oh, she would be like, that's it, mommy. You doing it. So it's all about me making her proud of me and knowing that she is smiling whenever it happens.
Yeah, I call this struggle season. And that's how this show came about. Me and Stacy talking, and I just told her I'm struggling. I just broke down to her. My son was murdered 24 hours after my mother died. And I don't know. Like I won't I say I'll never heal, but I'll get stronger. And when somebody say, "Oh, you'll heal," no, 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 you can't. I can't come back from that. But I'll be stronger. I can give more. I can love more. I can keep moving. Stacy will tell you, she'll call and I'll just be doing stuff. And she's like, slow down. I have a group of friends that hear me when I'm quiet. Get around people that hear you when you're quiet, and in this season I get very quiet, but I get busy, and I call it struggle season. And I don't know, asking Mary and Ashley, is there a release somewhere? Like it's torture to me. It's torture. This season is just torture. And just suppressing all your feelings, suppressing yourself, suppressing, busting out in tears, and in important events, So that's just where I am.
What I would say to that, Susan, and also to Elena, is it is hard because the holidays are a time when like the past and the present come together. And you didn't expect, it's kind of a reset time. Before this death came, it was a reset time. Everybody got together and were joyous. But everything you just said are valid and appropriate. And there is no right or wrong way to do it, which is the hardest thing, because no one can really tell you what your journey is. If I could tell you quickly mine. My mom died in 2021, and I decided to grieve purposefully and mourn purposefully. So I paid attention to the last 4 years. And the first year I called it grieving to mourning, where there's a lot of firsts happening. The first time without her this, the first time without her that. I felt like I was asleep from March until July.
Right.
I didn't remember, in August, I called my sisters and said, did we do anything for Mother's Day? Because I don't remember. When I woke up, I didn't remember what had happened between March and July. So that first year is just really, really can be difficult. And I'm not saying any of, the year is relative. It could be a period of time where it's just really, really difficult. So for me, the second year, I called it mourning to dancing, because I decided to try to find some joy. Looked for something, you see joy behind me. Every single room of my house has the word joy in it. My house is called the House of Joy, because I tried to find some joy in that second year, just to kind of get myself going again. But it's relative, right? I'm marking mine by the anniversary of my mom's passing, and me and my sisters now go on a trip at the anniversary of her passing. I don't work on that day anymore. On that week, I'm not available to people. That shutdown thing, I like how you said that, sadly, but I understand that you get quiet, and that's a good way to put it. And then the third year, I called it, I read a book called Bittersweet, and it's about how sorrow and longing make us whole. And in that book, someone said there's the upside to loss. So after a period of time, you kind of go on the other side of loss. You try to find like who you are now without those people, without that person. And what can you find? How can you find some meaning in your life during that time, so that you can go on as best you can? But you said it, Susan, you won't heal, but you'll get stronger. There's a meme where the jar has a really small ball in it. It's a really big jar. The jar stays the same, but ball gets bigger. You fill it up. You figure out a way to make grief a part of your everyday life, so that it doesn't impact you. And then the fourth year, I've just been saying the journey continues, because I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm stopping marking some of the time. I can, think about my mom without crying. I can look at pictures without crying. And there's different, things that happen. Some people's grief is complicated because of the reasons why it happened or the thing that you're grieving. We're talking about people right now, but you can also grieve a loss of a job, a loss of a relationship,
Sure.
a loss of a dream.
Yeah.
And a loss of, so loss is relative. We deal with loss every day. And so we're a lot stronger than we think we are because we probably have dealt with loss in some way throughout your life. So that's all I'm going to say right now and give it over to Ashley to see what she's got. And I got lots of books and resources and everything for people if you want them. This is dear to my heart. And it is, no journey is going to be the same. So I just wanted to share mine and then be open to receive people in sharing and answering their questions on, some other ways to get through this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I definitely want to piggyback off of a lot of the information that Mary shared. So I think it's important that we define first what grief is, which is a response to any loss. I know oftentimes when we look at the word grief, we kind of attach it to death, and we don't recognize that, as Mary mentioned, we've actually been grieving several losses throughout our lives. So I oftentimes like to look at grief too, and to help promote that to my clients, that grief is a journey and not a destination. So if we're looking at it as a destination, we're often, telling ourselves, well, I have to get over it, or I have to be done grieving by a certain time. Versus reframing how we look at grief and recognizing that it's going to be a journey. There's going to be highs and lows that we experience. And how can we begin learning how to cope with both of those highs and lows in order to regulate ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
So just to give you a little bit of background of what grief has looked like in my life, specifically to death. In 2014, my stepfather had a massive heart attack at home in front of my mother and brother. My brother performed CPR on him. Unfortunately, he had already passed.
Mm-hmm.
In 2017, my brother was brutally murdered. He was shot 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
A year later, my mom was diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer. She lived 2 years after her diagnosis. She died in 2021. And then my biological father, who I also had a very close relationship, died at the beginning of 2023. So I lost both of my parents within a 15-month period. So unfortunately, I am the only living person of my nuclear family. I have lost everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I am 38, and I lost my entire family by the age of 35.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have extended family. I have cousins. I have an aunt who I'm very close with. My mom was the youngest of 8 children. There is only one living sibling left. So I've also dealt with loss of uncles and aunts. My grandmother is still living. She is amazing. She will be 94 in 3 weeks. And that's
Nice.
my little dog.
Yeah.
So I am her primary caretaker. I've also experienced grief with her as well because she has Alzheimer's right now, dementia.
Mm.
And she has been dealing with that for about the last 3 years. Just to take a step back too, prior to both of my biological parents passing away, I was also their caregivers as well.
Mm.
So I ended up having to take FMLA off of work during the time that my mother was experiencing cancer treatments because we were also in the height of the pandemic.
Wow.
So trying to process the grief of the pandemic and everything that was going on there while also trying to maintain taking care of her after her losing her son.
Mm-hmm.
So I have experienced grief in multiple ways. So I definitely can resonate and relate to all of you. And I thank you for creating this space.
Yes.
And I think the important thing is too, when we look at grief, is recognizing that grief needs space.
Yes.
And not trying to fix it or overcome it, and just allowing yourself to process whatever comes up for you.
Definitely.
So I know that Susan had mentioned being able to suppress things down, although that is a trauma response that is very unhealthy for us because eventually those things are going to come to the forefront and it's going to be an explosion. And it's probably going to be more difficult to manage in those times as well.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the thing that you pointed out with having people be able to see you when you're silent.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that as Black women, we mask every day. all day, every day, in order to survive and thrive in this world.
Yes.
So having people around you that are able to see your authentic self and see those moments when you are quiet, and just being able to provide that space for you as well, because sometimes silence is the answer. I know oftentimes in our society we have these cliches that we like to use when we're talking about grief, right? Your loved one is in a better place. Why are you still grieving this? You don't want to hear that when you're in the midst of your grief. That's a turn off.
Right. Right.
And I try to help
Exactly.
people to recognize, intent versus impact. So although the intent is not to, cause harm, is to console you in those moments, unfortunately, they might have a negative impact with hearing some of those cliche things when in actuality you may need something else. So oftentimes people will comfort or console you in the ways that they need comfort or consoling versus asking you what exactly you need. So I think it's important for us to really let go of the expectations of what we believe grief is going to look like, and just being able to accept it for what it is in that moment.
Yep. Yep. That's good. There's a author named Alan Woolfolk, and he writes a lot about grief, and he says there's 6 needs for mourning. And the six needs for mourning are: 1, acknowledging the reality of death. So you have to do this work to kind of help get you through it. Just acknowledge the reality of the death. Embrace the pain of the loss, like Ashley was just saying, like suppressing it or get it out. Let it, just embrace the pain of the loss, because the loss, it hurts. Acknowledge that. And then remember the person who died. I loved how Elena, your daughter's name has transferred down through generations in different ways. I love that. Just trying to keep that alive some way, some form, somehow. Just keeping that alive. And then the later steps, like developing a new self-identity. I had to think about, am I still a daughter if my mom's not alive, right? Ashley, we just talking about losing both your parents. My dad died 30 years ago, and I re-grieved his death after my mom's, because I didn't realize that, like when he died 30 years ago, I just went on with life because my mom was alive. But once my mom died, I had to stop for a moment and think about, who am I now that I don't have any parents? And then I thought about my mom, and going through her house, I found that she had kept all the cards and letters that people had sent her when her mother died. And she had never shared that. And I was 18 months old when my mother died. So it made me think about, how did my mother what was she doing when I was a toddler and she was grieving her own mother? And so all that grief, finding my new self-identity through that process, and then just searching for new meaning and finding support. Those are the 6 things that we need to do in order to mourn and walk through this. Everybody does it differently. There's no time frame. Don't put a time frame on it. The world thinks that, oh, you should be over it. And for both of you guys who have talked about a more tragic deaths, sometimes it's really hard to get over it, and not get over it. People don't want to hear it. Not that they shouldn't hear it. They should, and you should still be able to speak about it. But I know I worked with one woman. She said, nobody wants to hear my story anymore. Nobody wants to hear me talk about what happened to my child. And I'm still trying to work through it. And that, caused her to be closed off and to close up. And just find people that will listen to the story as many times as you need to tell it. Find ways to tell it. I have started moving into like doing more creative things. I, write more poetry now. I paint. I've painted just so that I can like find a different place to put my energy. So those are a couple other things to just think about.
Yeah. Evangeline Kinsey, she said suppressing your feelings is not good. I've done it for years and it eventually comes out as illness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. It does, and it can be as simple as when somebody asks me, "How many kids do you have?" And then it's like, you know, I have, and I've, over the years I've developed I have three on earth and one in heaven.
Right. It's like you have
Mm,
to explain. I had to figure out how to
How to
explain.
explain, because I always say, "Oh, my kids are nurses." "Oh, all of your kids are nurses." Well, the ones on earth are nurses, and the one in heaven is my angel. It affects everything. And for me, I lost my mom suddenly, May 6th, 2020, during the pandemic. I lost my mother very suddenly. So it was like a whole nother level of grief for me because now I was on the journey without my mommy. And it's so crazy. When my daughter passed away in 2008, my parents were still living. Both my parents' mothers were still living. I
mm,
mean, it's like it was generations of people looking down on
yeah.
this little girl. Like all these older people were here and she was gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
And
Mhm.
also recognizing too that grief can be delayed, so we don't always experience it right away. So you may not experience symptoms of grief for days, months, even years later. So
Mm-hmm.
recognizing
And
that's
I
in
can
that role
attest
as
to that.
well.
I can definitely attest to that. My father was a big pastor here in the city of Cleveland. So we had to go through the process of letting everybody come to the hospital for 2 days, making this whole thing, having 2 full days of ceremonies and all of that. Um, my mother was always a well kept woman, this and the other. So she didn't have no bills. She didn't have anything. My father took care of that. So me having to kick in and not having time to really grieve the death of my father because I'm making sure my mother get to counseling. The professional in me, like everybody go to counseling, right? But me can't because I got to make sure my son get there, my mother get there, make sure these bills is paid over here. She don't know what a bill look like. All she knew was go get groceries and this and the other, and here go your money. We all wish we had that man today, right? Not having to work, but that's all she knew. So when it really like I settled down, maybe a year and a half later, then it really kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I
Mhm.
wanted to do something or needed to do something, and like that was my homeboy. Like we was cool, and I couldn't call him,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
went to go like down. I was like, yeah. So that's when it kicked in for me. So I'm very, very, very one of those people of the delayed because it's always the strong person that has to always take care of someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that has always been my role. And they don't think that as the professionals, you are supposed to have that grief,
Right.
at all.
I can definitely
So
relate to that because unfortunately, as my parents were dying, I had to show up as a social worker and not their daughter
Yep.
correct.
Yep.
because I
That
had
Yep.
to
was me
advocate
as
for them in
well.
hospice and at the hospital to make sure that
Mhm.
they were properly taken care of.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
So I have done that on a regular basis. Elena tell you I have called her many a times. My mother had surgery, whatever, and I'm like, I'm in social work mode. I can't even be the daughter here, and I need you to pop in over here for me, like because we stay in work mode always together. I even recently I thought I was gonna go back to work for a minute, right? And it was right after like my granny died, who was like my backbone for real for everything. And I'm a social worker for seniors.
Mm.
On my third day in the building, I'm walking in finding one of my residents expired. So I was
Mm.
like, yeah, so I don't know if I'm ready to go back to work yet and be in this field working with them. And all of that came right back
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
up. So yeah, we don't feel like we supposed to have those moments at all that you're human. You always have to stay in work mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agape Foundation said the caretaker needs respite too.
Respite. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Respite.
there's a
Yes.
such thing as
Yes, they
respite
do.
burnout,
I
Yeah.
and
agree.
caregiver fatigue.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really hard for the caretaker to do that because they want to be so responsive to the person that they're taking care of, and don't want to let down on that responsibility. And they go through a double grief of the loss of the person that they were taking care of. There's that space that is now extremely empty, because there was a lot of time spent in taking care of that person. And then once that person passes away, that space is there, but there's nothing to fill it. And so they're grieving the loss of the person, but also the loss of being a caretaker at the same time. So that can be really difficult. For me, another thing about grief, I lived in a different state than my mother. So my mom lost her mom when she was like 25. And so after I was 25, I thought, my mom doesn't really know what she's doing being a parent. So I always planned and thought, okay, I'm not going to be there when she dies. I always pretended like she passed away sometime, and would cry at home and grieve at home, and pretend like I missed the death. But the day she died, and that was an anxiety that I carried around. My mom's going to die one day. My mom's going to die one day. My mom's going to die one day. And the day she died, it's kind of weird, but the anxiety fell away for that. Like, I was like, okay, now let's do the work. This is real. It didn't feel the same as like being at my house crying, pretending like my mom passed away. Not totally no practice, but the anxiety about that was gone. And so I could move differently in the world without that anxiety on my shoulders. But also sometimes it's like you feel a little guilty that you no longer have that anxiety, that you're carrying like this comfort blanket. So be mindful of that. Like we said, different things look differently because you have experienced this, but every single person in the world has also experienced this. And I got on a plane one time, and this guy had grief on his shoulder. So I asked him what that was about. And there's an organization out there for that. And we had a beautiful conversation about his wife who had fallen off a horse and was grieved. And he started an organization, and me talking about my mom. So it makes we all have this commonality, unfortunately. So you can find ways to grieve in different ways by sharing your story and hearing someone else's.
Yeah, and I can't remember who mentioned this a little bit earlier, but also letting go of the expectation that you're going to return back to the person you were before the loss happened.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
so it changes that you will never be that person again.
It changes you.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, just like trauma changes. This is a traumatic, some of the, all deaths are traumatic. My mom was 83, so I knew she would die eventually, but she fell and hit her head. It wasn't planned that was the day she was going to go. So all death is traumatic as it happens. So, I got to be, as some people get to actually be there. I got to be there with my dad when he passed away. I got to see him take his last breath. We decided not to do that with our mother because she was not there anymore. So there's all these different choices and decisions that happen. Some families don't do well after grief. People either don't have enough money or fight about the money or fight about the house, and it makes it even worse and more contentious. So those things can happen. Just trying to think of different ways that grief gets more complicated because complicated grief, if it's making it difficult for you to work or difficult for you to engage with other people, we definitely think it is the time to go to therapy. And it's always a good time to do some therapy and some work on yourself. If you don't feel, you need extra help, always seek it out because that can always help. It can always help.
And that's something that we just have that Black women should be doing anyway. I'll never forget my very first supervisor. In order to work for her, you had to see a therapist twice a year. Wow. And her mindset behind that was, you're taking care of people all day. You go home and take care of a house and your family. Who is taking care of you?
True.
No,
And I
I
have
am a
never,
therapist
that
that
has
has a
stuck.
therapist. I see mine every month.
Mhm.
Yeah, that has stuck with me since I got in the field. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I see it on a regular basis. And with my friends, we talk. I'm like, girl, like go to therapy. Like
Mhm.
it's okay. Like it has been a stigma so long that it's not okay, but it's something that we just need to encourage. Like I don't know. I tell my friends all the time, Black women need to go to therapy. Period. I
Mhm.
need therapy just to wake up in the morning
Mhm.
because I
Mhm.
don't know what might be that thing that's gonna make me snap. I
Right.
need somebody to call and check in with when I don't want to burden somebody else, and I need a non-biased opinion.
Mhm.
I need to see the therapist. It's cool. You're gonna listen, you're gonna let me bitch and moan all day long. But I'm on a time limit with that therapist. It's
Mhm.
this, you gonna do this, and this is how we gonna cope and do that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
need to check in with people. Like you just have to. I just think Black women need, a therapist, especially women that's in high power roles. You need somebody to check in with.
Mhm.
And because we're used to carrying the superwoman identity, not recognizing how
Mhm.
mental health impacts us, I was actually talking to some people earlier, and one of my statuses that I posted on social media was that irritability and anger often is depression and anxiety in Black women. And
Mhm.
knowing that our symptoms show up differently than other ethnic or racial groups. So a lot of these symptoms are being minimized because they don't show up in the more traditional way.
Mhm.
Right. Exactly.
I
Yeah.
like that. That's good to remember.
Yeah.
Um,
Another area, like thinking of grief, is I know for me, my faith was extremely important, and going to seek God was extremely important. But it can also be a time where people lose their faith or don't understand
absolutely.
it or stray from it. So
Right.
I just want to acknowledge that as well. That can either be it can help you, give you more strength, or it could end up being a stronghold that like causes you to not figure out where it's going. So those are two other things that come up for um, people when they're grieving.
And I think, to piggyback off what you said, most, you know, foundations have come from your grandmother being in church. You listen to them singing and doing all that. Um, I was birthed in a church, grew up, all of that carrying on. That was the first thing I strayed from once it really clicked that I didn't have my daddy anymore.
Mhm.
It was a lot of stuff going on and whatever, even with the church and all of that. Um, And I'm just thinking, like, Lord, you let his brother live who wasn't doing nothing with his life, don't have nothing to live for. Like, it's just drinking and drugging. Like, I was having these conversations on a regular.
Mhm.
My therapist
Well, that's
said,
the bargaining stage of grief.
Right.
you know what I mean?
There you
So
go.
Hmm.
my therapist said, hey, you need to start writing some letters. I don't
Hmm.
care who you mail them to or don't, but you need to get that out. Cause I was like that angry, but I'm still trying to deal with my mother and my son on the low, but I'm ready to like blow up the church. I'm ready to do some things.
Mhm.
And then it clicked like, girl, get back there. That's where you need to go to get all of your whole sanity. But I had spiraled for a year and a half after at that point.
Mhm.
But yeah, you have to have something, whatever it is, to hold on to during that time. I just want to acknowledge a couple of the
Yeah.
comments that
Yes.
came up.
Well, I wanted to talk, Stacy. Cheryl has said, she said it's difficult to get our students to speak with support personnel. And she
Mhm.
works at Tuskegee University. And that comes from mama, grandma. I wasn't, I think about even Cheryl when I was in college. Like I wasn't going to see no therapist or nothing because my mama was strong, my grandmother was strong, my aunts are strong. I'm not doing that, and it's just I think it's passed down to us as Black women that we're supposed to be superwoman. We're supposed to be strong. We're supposed to handle things. I got this, and this is the rest period for Black women, And when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing nothing for nobody else, you know.
And then the next moment she was calling me like, yep, and we gonna do this, we gonna do that, let's do this, organize this, get that. I'm like, I thought we was resting.
That was our people. That's for our
like,
people.
I thought we was resting. You just said, let's do 70 things. Like,
no, but we're doing this for us. You know what I find strength in? I find strength in there's always somebody worse.
Yes.
There's always somebody that's feeling it worse. And I vowed after losing my son that I would spend the rest of my life making sure people feel I'm less broken.
Right.
You know,
right.
And it's, you know, and as you meet people and as you talk to people, and I'm not going to say I'm a people person, but I love people, if that makes sense. So, you know, on a daily basis, you're always going to meet somebody that had it worse than you or went through something worse. You know, just hearing your testimonies made me feel like, okay, God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for even complaining, you know, and I try to, you know, the joy comes from being able to see him again, being able, you know, my mom was older. So it's so crazy because my son was murdered 24 hours after she died. And just like you guys say how it hits you later, I still go to call her. I still go, this happened in 2020, and I still go to pick up the phone to call her and talk to her about my son or something. And it's just so crazy. And now that you say, I really don't think I ever have properly, because of the way everything happened, really grieved my mom. I really don't think, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I lost my dad 2 years before that. And then before that, I lost my first husband. So it was like, I don't think I really took time to properly grieve her. Yeah. You know, and celebrate her. So I mean, that helped me, that whole.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad, like I said, my dad died 30 years ago, and I was getting ready to have my son. I was pregnant when he died, and so and then I had a son, so that helped my mom, I think, get through that process. But we raised him, and so we didn't really, you know, daddy wasn't there. Okay, now I don't have a daddy. My son doesn't have a daddy because I was a single mom, so we're good. We're the same. But once my mom died, I went back and looked at that. I was like, dang, I didn't do daddy justice. Like, what did daddy like? 30 years had passed now. We hadn't even really talked about my dad to my nephews and my grandson. And so they didn't even know who he was as a man. And we were trying to bring him up, and they were like, we didn't know him. He wasn't alive when we were grown up. We're like, oh, shoot. We did a total disservice to our dad by not having him be a part of our life. And so we made sure we don't do that with my mom. Like, we talk about her, we bring her up, we say things, we check in with them. But yeah, you kind of go back and like grieve that you can always, I guess that might be the beautiful thing about grief, is you can always go back and re-grieve. Not that you want to, right? Not that you want to.
Right.
You can go back and find the happy memories that you had about your mom, and go back and think about the things that you did. So maybe even the time past is time that you can go back and grieve differently. I made a bargain with God, as you Stacey, bargain with God that don't bring up the week of my mom's death until after I retire. And I was going to retire. I'm retiring in like 2 more years. I don't want to think about the week of that week before she died, because we took her off life support and she lived for 3 days. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to remember it. I don't want to go back to it until I have time to process it. So I don't think about that. And that's how I do that. I just don't think about those 3 days. I grieve every other way except for those 3 days of the year. And grief comes in waves. I call them grief waves. They feel like you are about to drown. You can't get your breath. You can't see straight. You think you are going to die. I just call it, I've learned to breathe them in and go, oh, this is a grief wave. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes in the middle of the day, I'll just.
Yep.
There's nothing else to do. There's no other emotion for it. Tina talks about, she said, I have anxiety about losing my mom since my dad passed last year.
Yeah,
it's hard.
it
And
is hard,
I say
Tina.
to Tina, live though, you know,
Mhm.
live and
Yes, Tina, I talked about
enjoy
that
your
before.
mom. You
Yeah,
And
know,
what she's actually experiencing, if she wants to get a name to it, because once we're able to name things, that makes things a little bit easier to process. That's anticipatory anxiety.
yes,
Mm.
So you're anticipating or waiting for something to happen, and now your body is preparing for it, which is why you're noticing those symptoms.
yep. Tina, what I would say do when I realized I was doing that, I took a lot of pictures of me and my mom. I did. I just took lots of pictures. I knew in the 3 or 4 years before she passed, she was getting older. She was 83. Every time I went home, I took a picture. Every single time. I saved her voicemails. So on her, the year she died, I was turning 60. I was grieving that I wasn't going to be able to hear her say happy birthday, but I could because I had recorded her saying happy birthday on one of my messages like years before. So I played, my mom got to tell me happy birthday on my 60th birthday. I kept a card that she had. So I sent it to myself and opened it up and got a card from my mom. Like little things you could do to kind of alleviate some of the anxiety, but still live with her, enjoy her, give her hugs. I also would say, Tina, since you have the luxury, get all her stories, ask questions.
And they actually have journals now that
Yes.
you can give to your family members where they can share their own stories, and you can have that as a keepsake.
Yes, that is so. I did a couple of those things too, but while you have that opportunity, take that
And
opportunity.
try to stay as present in the moment as you can as well.
Right.
As you can. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of my things. A lot of times if you follow me, you'll see my hashtags is create a memory, seize the moment, live for today.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tell Susan all the time, like if we get through today, tomorrow will take care of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like
And
let's get through
sometimes one day
today
at a time is too overwhelming. So we need to break that down. Maybe it needs to be 1
and
hour,
make it
one
a
minute,
moment.
1 second.
And it's true. Like we check
Yeah.
in and I'll be like, hey girl, hey, I'm just checking in on you, because you sense that you know when you need certain things. And that is just one I'm big on that. I'm big on take the trip, take the vacation, don't wait. If it don't leave the group chat, that's fine. You get to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
You get to go.
notwithstanding, her counselor let her know that crying is a great release.
It
Girl,
It
is.
is
I
because
want to
people don't know you
scream.
get to release all these things from your body. So you get to
Yeah.
release endorphins, which allows for your body to release some of that stress you're holding on to. You get to release oxytocin, which helps us to improve our emotional and mental well-being. So I
Mm-hmm.
know that crying is often looked at as a weakness in our culture, but it's actually a way to heal.
A good way.
Cry, scream. I've screamed. Susan,
Yeah.
you said you screamed. I've screamed really loud. I'm the only one in my house. I have let out the biggest, I thought I would do that the day, when you find out, sometimes you do that blood curdling scream when you find out the news. It didn't happen then, but I've let it out. You got to release it.
And knowing that emotions are just emotions, they're not good or bad. So processing whatever comes up for you and not judging it, but creating that space.
Ashley says, remember to take pictures, record videos, save voicemails, live in the moment because one day that will be all that you have.
And I was the photographer of my family, so I was always taking pictures when we were growing up, and I'm so grateful that I have all those things. And because my loved ones have passed on, I now have all the pictures and things that they've had in photo albums. So that's also a way to reminisce on those experiences. And my parents are very ages, so I didn't know that.
She brings up a good point too. She said, if you give a chance, make the hug t-shirt. I wish I would have gotten away with it. So I just seen that. And I just told my mother that we need to do the hug t-shirt. I think
what is that?
So you put paint on your hand and they put paint on their hand and you hug each other.
And
And
on the
it makes
t-shirt.
the
So
t-shirt.
what I seen, it was a grandmother. I think she was turning like 90 or something. And she had all her children, her grandchildren, and her great-grandchildren. And they were all had different colors. So the children had one color, the grandkids had one color, but she only had the one color. And they would hug and somebody would hold them to make the imprint. So it was a lasting t-shirt. I think I'm gonna do a party. I think I'm gonna do a t-shirt. Ashley, get with me. Let's do a party for that. We gonna do a hug t-shirt party. We need to do that in every city. That would be good. I would like to partner with y'all. I'm gonna be in your city anyway, Mary. To do that. I think that would be good therapy.
That would be interesting.
And just something to do. It was amazing when I watched the video. I told my mother, like, we need to do this.
That is cute. That is cute.
It's something I want to bring up too that we throw around. It's another one of those cliche words, like you talk about, Ashley, is self-care. So, through that process, my counselor always says, you need to do some self-care. You haven't done this and that. I'm like, yeah, I really have. I did. It might not look like it to each other, but I think we overrate that. And we sling the word around much, but we don't bask in the moment of what self-care really is. It doesn't necessarily always have to be, let me go get my nails done. I'm going for a pedi. Let me go out with this. I am content being in the house by myself and not hear no noise. It's self-care for me. The phone not ringing, not dinging, text. That's good self-care for me.
Yeah, I always get up early because I feel like I'm missing something. So self-care for me would be just staying in the bed.
I tell people that self-care is whatever you need that's healthy, that's gonna pour into you.
Yeah.
And fill your cup.
Yes. For me, it was I realized I was super dehydrated, which caused me to be really, really tired all the time. So my self-care is like every day making sure I get my water in. just do that. Start there, start small.
And I definitely encourage people, as Mary just mentioned, we don't have to start off with long periods of time. So I know oftentimes people believe, well, I don't have time. You do have time. You may just not be prioritizing time, right?
Yes.
We make time for what we want to make time for.
10 minutes here, 20 minutes here. That's within your control. So really looking at you're more in control of your life and that you're not as powerless.
Yeah. And being in control helps manage the grief too in the morning. Like just finding little times where you could take control, because that helps just keep things focused for you. And then it helps you get to the next second, to the next second, to the next second. And then don't forget, just breathe, right? If you can't do anything else, then take a deep breath in and a deep breath out and take, 3 times. You could do that every day for a few minutes, and that right there just changes your brain chemistry and helps you relax your fears in the back of your head, and just kind of gets you calmed down for a second so that you can think about, okay, what do I need to do next?
And knowing that may look different each and every day as well. So not judging if one day you need to breathe, the next day you need to meditate, maybe the other day you need to go exercise, maybe you need to take a nap.
That nap is real.
The nap is real.
The nap was, listen.
There is a Black girl that was on Sunday morning a couple of months ago that talked. Rest there really is. Napping is really important.
And being intentional about your self-care as well. So when you're intentional about something, you're more likely to follow through.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's true.
Sherelle said, I think creating a special physical place to mourn is very helpful. Yeah. And I find that true. Every time I get like in a space or in like anxiety, I go to my deck. I listen to the birds, the robins that come, and there's always like yellow butterflies that come around me, and I talk to my son then, and then when the robins come.
So in the therapy world, we refer to that as a calm, safe place.
I was just about to say, you got to calm how you beat me.
Yeah,
and it can either
beat me to it, like that's exactly what it's called.
Being in that space, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can also set a timer and decide, every day at 5:00 I'm going to spend some time grieving. Just plan it. And
Designated
after
work
a couple of
time.
weeks, you might find out, you know what, at 5 o'clock, I don't need to do that anymore. And then you figure out how to make it go. But sometimes you just need to plan it and give it its own space. Like we said, it does need space. It does need time. The part that healing happens in, Susan, is sometimes it doesn't hurt I will say it doesn't hurt the same way, because I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt the same way as the first day. So that's, for me, that's how I look at my healing, is it doesn't hurt the same way as the first day. And there's some days that I don't remember it. And when I remember it, it doesn't hurt at all. But there's other times that it hurts really, really, really bad. So that's, for me, that's like healing for me, my measurement of how I'm doing. So that could be different for other people, because some people may not want the hurt to go away. Right. Because then they might think, I must not still care about my person if I don't hurt so bad. And that's not it. I mean, there's probably a Bible verse that says time heals all wounds, and there's a season for this and a season for that and a season for that. So there's some, your heart's still going to be broken, but it might still be closer together, and it's still your heart, right?
Yeah. For sure. And knowing that light and dark are going to coexist.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's important too to have boundaries as well. So as Mary mentioned, when I know that some of those difficult days are coming up for me, I'm getting online, I'm booking a session with my therapist for extra support. I'm taking time off work to allow myself to grieve those days. I'm a person that likes to go to the cemetery. I know that is not other people's choices, but that's something for me that's healthy. So on those important event days, such as birthdays or death days, I spend time at the cemetery and I create that time for myself. I'll go get my loved one's favorite meal and I'll sit in my car or sit outside next to their gravesite and eat and just talk to them. I still bring them birthday cards and anniversary cards and things like that. So I still try to hold on to those traditions that we created, because that's a part of my healing process.
Ashley, I think that is very important that you said that. So my father died really on Valentine's Day, but we held him over. And that was always a date with my mom for them. That was the day he took his girlfriend, not his wife, his girlfriend out. So I had promised him on his deathbed that I would take care of her, but all those days that was important, I made sure happened. So that was part of my process, but has helped with her healing process. I make a big deal out of Valentine's Day. I make a big deal out of their anniversary. I make a big deal about that for her. Birthdays, some years is easier than others. They run like it's her and my grandmother, all of that. But creating those boundaries is important. Like, you got to know your limit. Like, today ain't a people day for me. So let me stay on in the house and deal, so I don't even cause no conflict, because it's going to become confrontational. It's going to be ugly. I don't know what the outcome may be. And it ain't their fault. It's just that I'm in that place that I can't deal. So I think it's very important to know your triggers and to know your boundaries and to know what you can and what you can't do. And when this ain't a good day, it's okay for you to say, hey, today just ain't that day. It ain't a good day. I need space. I need no is a complete sentence, and it's okay. And we have found ourselves like feeling the need to be able to say, oh, but I just told such and such that I'm going to do that. I'd be like, hey,
but if you can't,
I know I said I was. I apologize. Today ain't going to happen. It just ain't going to happen, because I know when I've hit my limit, and then it's like, no.
And no, it's okay to not be okay. That's actually what is on my shirt today. It's okay to not be okay.
Yes.
Two
Yes.
things can happen at the same time.
Mhm.
So to get to the holidays a little bit, when my mom died in March, the first thing my 20-year-old nephew said when he got in the car after we had did the funeral was, he said, "I got a question." And we all stopped. There's only 7 of us. We're in the car, and we're like, "What?" He says, "Are we gonna still do Christmas at Grandma's house?" That was his first thought about holidays. We were like, we hadn't really thought about it. My sister lived with my mom in the house, so we had already decided we were going to keep the house for a year. And so we decided to keep the first year we would do Christmas at home. And we kept all of the traditions pretty much the same, which is one way to do it. Some people change everything drastically to cut that, and you figure out how to do that tie. We decided to keep it pretty much the same. Fortunately, my mom read us "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" every year. Every year she read that book to us, and we recorded it so that we could hear it that year. For 60 years, my mom read that book to us. With tears coming down our face, all of us crying while we were doing it. So the holidays, I think, are harder because a family, everyone gets together usually. And sometimes holidays were not even good when the person was alive. So they're even worse. Or they were or that person was the person that did all the stuff. My mom wasn't a good cook, so my sister took over early. So it wasn't, we didn't miss nothing because my sister was cooking. So it was all good if my sister's on. She knows I'm telling the truth. But the household, we still missed her. The chair, do you keep a chair? Do you not keep a chair? What presents should we do? We still think about her while she's there, but it can be very difficult. And I think when I thought about this, I thought it's okay to change things, and it's okay to keep things the same, and it's okay to do both of them at the same time, right? So it's just like in the planning of it, that's why I did mine purposefully. I always think about being purposeful to help me with my process. I think about what do I want from the holiday? The first holiday was hard to get into buying presents because my mom was like the present giver. My mom would always give us $100, which wasn't a lot, but she gave every single person $100. And so my nephews always got $100. And so the first year, me and my sisters made sure that my nephew still got that $100 from grandma, just because she had always done that for them. And, we couldn't let that pass. And I'm just remembering that was super meaningful. So you just got to find out and be purposeful about how you want to remember the person and pass it on to them.
Sure.
And some of the other boundaries that I've created for myself as well during the holidays is really identifying people that are safe to me. So knowing, what friends are going to show up and be able to support and what people to avoid during this time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be spending Thanksgiving actually with my best friend, who's like my sister, because we've been best friends for 30 years. But my mom was a second mom to her. Her mom was a second mom to me. So although my mother is not there in the physical sense, I still have a mother presence or figure that is around me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
and I think that is very, very
too, so that if you get overwhelmed in spaces, you can always leave. You have a choice. You don't have to stay stuck.
I think that's important. I think I really enjoyed this whole Friendsgiving thing that they had come up with. Because it allowed for people that don't necessarily have families
and friends
who have claim to other right to do that. And I think that's important. The thing with me is all of my people is all over the world. So it's when are we going to get together to do something? I buried my grandmother the week before Christmas. So I was explaining to them last year, like, I love Thanksgiving. My parents' anniversary either fell on Thanksgiving, the day after, or something like that. So it was awesome. We always had a good time. Now I hate
can
to
definitely relate.
now I hate to see Christmas come. Like, but I'll make myself busy. I'm going to, I'm gonna be at all the giveaways. I'm gonna do the give backs. I'm gonna do that because that's where I come from. So that first year was like very hard. Then we all standing in her living room like for dinner, and I was like, yeah, this ain't gonna work for me. And then I moved in her house. And that next year, I created this whole winter wonderland, made it look all decked out because she was very that. And then after that, it was like, I don't have this to do no more. Like no more.
Right.
It's like, are you coming over for Thanksgiving? No, I'm not. Are you doing Christmas? Absolutely not. And I have moved out the house, all of that. Like, I just don't have no desire to do it, but I know what I need to do. You know what I'm saying? To keep myself, what I need to do that's going to make me happy for that. So I'm going to do the give backs and, we doing all of that. That's what I need for me. But
some traditions have to die, right? And
absolutely,
we have to grieve those again. That's still part of the grieving process. Some traditions, it's okay for some traditions to die and new things to be birthed out of them. So Christmas to Thanksgiving is a really hard time. For a couple of years, one person was sitting at the table at Thanksgiving. My aunt was sitting at the table at Thanksgiving one year, and she wasn't at Christmas. And so that time for me for many, many years was anxiety provoking because I wasn't, and my mom's best friend was at Thanksgiving one year and not there at Christmas. So that time between Thanksgiving and Christmas always made me hold my breath. My parents' anniversary was on Thanksgiving at the 27th of November. So it was always a time too. So but it became anxiety provoking between, it still is now. Like, I'm not sure. Do I cook Thanksgiving? I go to my sister's sometimes we don't. That was a normal thing anyway. But Christmas, I think as my nephews get older, we want to do Christmas somewhere else. We want to go travel. We're all adults. All of us are
that's what we
that's
do.
Where I'm at. Like, don't nobody got a passport yet? Y'all don't have nobody want to cruise this holiday.
Yeah. Like, get a house somewhere.
My son's birthday is the 24th, so every few years it'll fall on Thanksgiving. And so it's torture, But I want to piggyback and go back to what we were saying about just being around the right people. My tolerance is so different. I cannot listen to who you like, who you don't like, pettiness. I'm like, there is so much work to be done. I don't care if this person likes me or not. I don't care about, like people's insecurities. I can't babysit them anymore where I used to. And just I'm just different. I'm just a different person now. And the old people that knew me don't understand me, and new people think a certain way about me, but I don't care because there's work to be done. I think, losing so many people like you guys are in the profession, and I'm sure every day you think, I'm hurting, but there's work to be done.
I just had a session with a client last week whose mom died. And I had to end the session early to prepare myself for my next client.
Yep. I've been in a session where a man came in and, we're totally unrelated. I don't do physical therapy. I do rent and utility assistance. But he came in and told me his mom died. And I said, I understand that loss. And all of a sudden the spirit moved in the room and we were both in there crying. And I'm trying to be professional and maintain my professionalism to get the work done and get the information I need from him. But I felt the spirit move to say, stop and engage with this person. There's another hurting human being in this room, and the pain. And so I let him tell me about his mother and her name and the troubles that he was having with his brothers and sisters in terms of getting everything settled, and helped him with this situation. And he came back a couple of days later. It was like, thank you. remember I'm the guy you talked about with your mom. We talked about our moms, and I'm like, but I felt like it was needed, and I felt like he walked away with confirmed and seen and heard. And so that's the biggest thing, that we each can do that, whether we're therapists or not, is to try to see people and hear them and just love
And I
them.
believe in that. You have to meet people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
You meet them where they are and you leave them where they are. And that gives you the option to, the way to move around and deal accordingly. I'm a person that I have the patience of a gnat. I'm just going to be honest. So, and Susan will tell you, she'd be like, yeah, no, I don't have it today or tomorrow either. And probably next week ain't looking good either. But one thing I have learned about me is that when I say it, I'm done. When I made my mind up, it is what it is. And I don't have that room for that extra right now. You know what I mean? I don't and I've been in the field, number one, too long.
Right.
So I had to take some time off. But I don't have the patience to really walk on eggshells with people. I need you to understand, like in certain settings, that this is where we are.
Yeah.
I'm very empathetic, but I'm not going to be a hindrance, if that makes sense. Right. Especially if you're not in my immediate world like that, and I don't care that much about you. And I hate to sound like that, but it just is where it is with that. So I'm going to go overboard for those that I really care about and I want to see thrive and do this. And then I'm going to have less attention elsewhere, if that makes sense. The question I have for you ladies, when we got on this topic of the holidays, a lot of questions have been popping up, and I'm watching one specifically, Vinette, and forgive me if I'm saying that wrong, has brought to our attention. Number one, she, I believe, lost her, because it's just scrolled up, her husband, some other families, and holidays is hard. They have an anniversary on December 21st. And she just says that she, some of the things that she does for that, a couple other people, have holidays where significant people in their life has passed, be it around the holiday, being around Thanksgiving or Christmas. So one is the favorite, the other one isn't, or or vice versa. What do you say to those ladies as we are walking into Thanksgiving first and then Christmas? I know some have said, your person was there for Thanksgiving, but Christmas didn't make it, or vice versa. What do you say to them? Like, we preach therapy all day long, but at some time you have to go beyond that. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of self-work. And sometimes you have to, I believe in having your network and the people around you that hear you when you silent, that's going to walk this walk with you through the holidays. But before you even get to that, or even how you choose that, what do you say to those ladies?
I think it goes back to what I mentioned earlier with not having any expectations about what those days are going to look like, so that you're not trying to overly prepare.
Yep.
Okay.
So being mindful, staying in the present, allowing that day to come, and just processing whatever comes up for you, good or bad, during those moments.
I also say, I think, be kind to yourself. don't whatever happens, just be kind to yourself. If you were a cooker and you love cooking, then keep cooking if it works for you. Once my mom passed away, I didn't feel like cooking no more. I was meal prepping all the time. I was working out all the time. I still worked out every single day, but I could not bring myself to get into the kitchen and prep and meal prep. So I don't. I'm just 3 years later starting to go, maybe it's time to meal prep again. I've been working out the whole time, but I can't, the food just, I can't. It just, I don't know. So the other thing is maybe help someone else. It always helps me when I get out of my own mind and realize that there's other people, like Susan said, that need something more that I can give. We hadn't talked about journaling yet.
I was
Journaling.
actually going to mention that.
Like, get a journal, get a journal, get a journal. If you don't want to go to therapy, get a journal, because you could therapize yourself a little bit, at least getting it out of your system and write it down. And, a year later, if you want to go back and look at it and see where you are to see if you've progressed, then you could judge for yourself. So get a journal.
And writing a letter or journaling to your loved ones. So I definitely encourage my clients, although your loved one may not be physically present, that doesn't mean that you still can't communicate with them.
Yes, definitely.
So finding your own ways to maintain that connection, even though they're not physically present anymore. That can look like talking out loud to them, journaling, listening to their favorite movies. As my mom was transitioning, her favorite movie was Save the Last Dance. So although she was non-responsive, I actually put one of my AirPods in her ears and let her listen to the movie, and we watched it together. So that was a way for us to create, one of our final memories with one another, because hearing is the sense that goes last when people are actively dying.
Yep.
Right.
Yes. And try to find, I'm going to tell a humorous story. It may be somewhat morbid, but it's humorous. As she said, hearing is the last thing to go. We moved my mom into hospice, and when they move someone into a hospice room, there aren't any things in there. So me and my sisters were wondering, how are they going to know when she passed away? And we were cracking up laughing as we asked the lady to come in and say, so how are you going to know she's gone? It was our response to being there. And the hospice lady got really upset with us that we were laughing. And she said, hearing is the last thing to go. And we're like, my mom would be so happy we were laughing at this moment. So, we had to contain ourselves for the person that was trying to make us be in this box. But we were dying laughing because we thought it was the funniest thing. That how are they going to know? And it was our release. And my mom probably heard us laughing as one of the last acts that she ever heard. So, it is what it is. You got to find like some joyful moments, and me and my sister still laugh at how that lady was so mad at us. She got her supervisor because we were being disrespectful to our mother, laughing in her presence. Like, whatever, girl, get over it. So, just trying to find those last memories that you can have, and practice that for yourself. Make sure you eat, sleep, and drink. Get your sleep in. I know being depressed or overwhelmed or anxious sometimes can make people stay up and push the hours past that they don't want to go to sleep. But do try to maintain a regular sleep schedule, because sleep helps our bodies like physically recover, just physically, the physical part of our body recover. Some people, I look for my mom in my dreams. I'm ready to go to sleep to go see her and see if she's going to show up. I have a journal right next to my bed ready to write it down if I wake up and she's come and said something or visited or had an impression. My dad used to come visit in the dream, so I have it ready to write down and keep track of it. So sleeping is, helpful for us. So, and then, just have friends. We keep saying that over and over and over again. Have your network, your family, your siblings, if they're good.
And if you're a person that is grieving the loss of not having friends or family, knowing that there are community support out there too, such as different support groups. I know someone mentioned church. That's also another safe space for people.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to step outside of our comfort zone in order to gain support as well. It just might look different.
Yeah. There is there's an organization called griefshare.org for people. I always like to give people resources. It's one of my gifts, is to connect people with information so that they can accomplish their goals. That's like my personal life mission. So griefshare.org is a wonderful organization. If you send them your email, they will email you for 365 days after you make contact with them. Every single day you will get an email that has just like, today might not be a good day to talk to anybody. That's okay. Or they'll, tell you about the grief process.
What is it? Grief shared. I'm putting it in the comments.
Griefshare.org. Griefshare.org.
If you're in the Cleveland area, there is a agency called Cornerstone of Hope.
Cornerstone,
They
yes.
do a lot of grief work. I know that they've expanded to more like Southern Ohio as well. So I think they have some other locations. My mom actually was in hospice when she passed away, and they are an awesome resource
Mm-hmm.
for grief support. One of the things I like about the Hospice of the Western Reserve here in Cleveland is that they have specialized grief groups. So they have groups specific for people who have lost a parent as a child, people who have lost a parent as an adult, because those experiences look different. They have grief groups for sibling loss, parent loss, widow support groups. So looking to see, what community resources you have in your area that can provide you with specific groups or resources that are specific to your particular needs.
I am very familiar with Cornerstone. My mom has completed and created a very large network out of Cornerstone going after my dad died. And they would go every Friday and they would leave her little crew and they would go for tea, they would go to lunch, they would do all that. They are awesome support. And then, as some of her friends' husband died, she would take them to Cornerstone. Cornerstone is excellent.
There's another resource too that could be helpful for people. It's called the Grief Recovery Method.
Yeah, they are
And
good
that
too.
is a program that you can go through as a clinician or just a person in general. And they can actually help link you to clinicians that specialize in that grief recovery method.
Someone asked in the chat.
About the author.
His name is Alan, Aland, and then his last name is Wolfelt, Wolfelt. Wolfelt, Alan Wolfelt.
Another resource too that is actually by a Black clinician. There's a book. It's called The Gift of Grief.
Mm.
And her first name is Agita, Agita, and last name is Robinson.
When I was getting this show together and I was talking to Mary suggested I get this book, and I did, and I started reading it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I have it.
What's it called?
It's called The Book of Two Ways. And it's good.
It's just a fiction book. A lot of my journey was fiction books. Helped me process my grief over. I have a whole list of the fiction books I read, but that was one of them. That was really good.
I'm also going to give you guys a resource if you have to have the conversation with young children, because that can look different as well. I'm just looking at the name of the book. I believe it's called When Dinosaurs Die.
Yes.
And I often recommend that book to clients to kind of be able to explain to children grief in a way that's age appropriate. The author of that book is Laurie, Laurie Brown. And it's When Dinosaurs
because I was like,
Die.
yeah, you going to counseling too, because I can't deal. Like, I got too much on my plate at this point. Like, I can't deal. I just can't. You going to therapy? I'm going to get you somebody, and they're going to work y'all through. Okay, every Saturday.
That is cool.
I think also, as we're preparing, and you never are ready for it. Let me say that. We never are. We don't want to let go. I don't want to, none of that. But I thought it was important, like even with reading this book and talking with Mary, some of the things that was like you would not really understand, but it makes sense. So when we say like creating those memories, when it's more than just having that. It's writing a letter and buying a birthday card for your child for every year when you're not going to be here. It's the writing a letter, so if you're not going to be here, they open a letter on their wedding day from you. So, like reading all these different resources that she gave me, I really do pay attention when people talk to me. I think I don't. I was like really taken back, but I was thinking like if I could have done that
I know.
like with my dad, like so like when my son graduated, he would have had a card from him, like all of that. I think that makes a huge difference. It helps in the healing to be able to do that. So I was in Hallmark and I bought a whole bunch of cards the other day. Like, and I ain't a send a card person. I ain't doing that, but it put it in perspective for me. Like if I could go back, I would have had one for a whole lot. I'd have been having my father sign cards to give to my son for this, and when he turned 18, and for his 25th, and things like that. I would have really like planned for.
What I ended up doing for my son, though, my dad left letters to his parents. Well, my grandmother sent me letters that my dad had written to her when he was 19 and 20. So I was able to put those in a book and give them to my nephew and my son. And what they don't understand the importance of it now, but they have like 35 letters in the words of their grandfather about the things that were going on with him in 1950. 48, 49, and 50. But you see his character come out and how committed he was to trying to be in the military. He was in the military, and he was the only African American in the military, and all the studying he had to do, and how dedicated he was, and how devoted he was to his parents and to the work. So they do have that. It just trying to in those little things, trying to take as you're cleaning up or picking up the mementos of the past and putting them in some sort of way so that you can pass it on to the future. That helped me process my grief. My nephews, when they got it at Christmas, they were like, "What's this?" I put it in a little book and I thought I was doing something. They were like, "What's this?" Just hang on to it.
Yeah.
And so for the next month afterwards, I sent them, read page 25. Read October 25th, read June 30th, and to kind of make them use it a little bit. That's how I process my grief. But.
So, ladies, as we wrap this up tonight, I'm just gonna ask Ashley and Mary to give us closing words of just encouragement for the people that are on tonight, the people that came, for a word, for some knowledge, and just for some encouragement to get through this season. So I'm going to ask you both to just give us some closing remarks.
Susan, when I do mine, can I do have a quick prayer thing that I'd like to do if you can to close us out at the end, if that's okay. It's non-denominational-ish, but just want to make sure it's okay.
Ashley?
One of the things I want to reinforce is the word grace. So giving yourself grace throughout this entire process. And again, not judging yourself if you have a good or a bad day. So something that someone shared with me years ago that I often share with my clients is I'm having a bad moment and a good day. So being able to recognize again that light and dark coexist and that we have control, right? So we can allow ourselves to continue having a bad day, or we can know that that's an isolated experience and I have more hours in the day to be able to, experience that joy and pleasure. So just continuing to be empathetic towards yourself, continuing to give yourself grace, recognizing that you are the creator and narrator of your own story. So you can choose to show up how you want to in those spaces. And people are going to have an opinion regardless of what you do. So prioritize yourself first.
Yeah, I can't really say anything else better than that. You're not going to move on. You're not going to forget. It's forever going to be in your memory. But you can move through and incorporate it into your life. So that it does become a part of you that you're okay with, and can still do most of the things that we want to do in life, right? You're still going to have to pay your bills somehow, maybe. You're still on vacation, maybe. You're still going to want to, spend time with other people, maybe. So that part. But when it gets really, really hard, just stop and take a moment. And I'd like us to do that. I don't know if we're going to end right away, but I would like, if it's in the last minute or I could do it now, I just wanted to do a breathing exercise with us just so that we all can
Yes.
take a moment. Okay. I'm just going to, it's just a quick breathing to think about. You can close your eyes or just think about it. You just take a few moments. We're just going to breathe in and imagine that you're breathing in God's love. So we're going to breathe in God's love, take a breath in, and breathe out tension and anxiety. Breathe in God's love and breathe out fear. Breathe in God's love and breathe out negativity. Breathe in God's love and breathe out anger and resentment. Breathe in God's love and breathe out worry. Breathe in God's love and breathe out useless guilt. Breathe in God's love and breathe out questions or doubt. Breathe in God's love and breathe out hatred or prejudice. Breathe in God's love and breathe out judgmental attitudes. And lastly, breathe in God's love and breathe out anything that's not of God. And just take a few moments and breathe and imagine God's love is flowing through each part of you. Ask God for comfort, for healing, and for hope. And I pray that everyone on this call, Lord, has found some comfort, some healing, and some hope during this hard and difficult time of the year and a hard and difficult time perhaps in their life, Lord. But just remind them that they've already overcome their hardest day with a 100% pass rate. That you, if they believe in whatever they believe in, whatever universe thing that comes in, wherever they can find the best strength that they can find, Lord, that they find it and that they are comforted by it and that they find some peace to keep moving on, to keep helping other people, to help their families, and to continue to grow despite this. We are not the product of what has happened to us. We can make what we want to happen to us. So in Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Oh my God.
Amen. Amen.
I want to first thank you ladies for agreeing to come on and just chit chat with the homegirls tonight. It was deep. Yeah, we had some moments, but it was needed. Ladies that are listening, these are our own sisters. They are Black women that love football. So we even more encourage you to, it's more than football for us. And we really care about your mental, your spiritual, your mental, and how you feeling on a daily. So that was the reasoning for us having this tonight. I personally pray that you got something out of it. And if we can connect you with additional resources, please, 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 please do not hesitate to reach out. I would rather help you than to be grieving you later in the day. So please, for all means, I believe everybody on this panel is open. Everybody has a DM. That's how I talk to them, ladies. Everybody has a way of getting in contact. So please, do not hesitate to reach out if you are feeling alone, if you need just somebody to talk to, pray with you, or whatever the case may be. I ask that you reach out to us for that. We have some giving initiatives that is going on through the holidays, which is helping quite a bit of us get along. I am doing Operation Lottie with Dr. Elena Barnes. That is what the CLE is doing. The night before Thanksgiving, she goes out in honor of her daughter to pass out to the homeless clothes, gloves, this and the other. So the Northeast Ohio, we are collecting for that, and I will be, if you have them, get them to me, and I will make sure Elena has them before next Wednesday when her family goes out in honor of her daughter for that. Nationally, Black Women Love Football will be gathering in Atlanta the week of December 14th, that weekend. And we are doing a whole big give back. In the featured section on the webs on our page, and drop the link for me, Susan, please. Susan, can you
Yeah,
drop
I
the
hear
link
you.
for me? Okay. That there are slots that you can take in, so that we will be passing out food, we will be passing out hygiene kits and different things. You can pick a slot and you can pick what you are going to donate. If you are like me and you'll be traveling to Atlanta and you know that you are not going to be traveling with anything or going shopping, please feel free to donate on the app like I did, and we can make sure that we are serving families. um, Marilyn is absent tonight, who has set it up, but she let us know she was out last week, and it was over 200 families that they served, and still they ran out, and there were families that walked away. So we don't want to be in that position. We want to be able to serve everybody that comes up that day. Quite a few of us will be traveling to Atlanta for that give back. So your blessings come from being a blessing to other people. Um, Football is wonderful, as Susan says all the time, but giving back is super amazing. Um, so this group was founded on love, and that's why we are very, very, very non-tolerant of the extra, because it's more than that for us. So I'm going to sum it up with that. I'm going to close out. If I don't talk to you before the holidays, I'm wishing you all a good Thanksgiving. Whatever that looks like for you and your family, try not to spend it alone. And if you need those resources, feel free to reach out to us, and we will make sure that we pair you in the state that you are in with the necessary resources. Um, so that's what I have. You ladies want to close out with anything before we exit? Elena, you got anything?
I just want everybody to celebrate whatever that looks like for them. I want them to appreciate the memories that they have and live their life and celebrate their holiday in a way that honors those that they love.
Mhm.
Ashley?
I just want to say thank you for inviting me on and holding space for me as well, as I am navigating through my own process. And hopefully, my testimony is able to help someone else.
Susan, you got anything?
No, I'm just I'm full tonight. Thank you guys for being on. Thank you for blessing us. Thank you for being transparent most of all. And thank you for being Black, wonderful, powerful sisters.
Mary, I'm going to let you close us out.
Thank you guys so much for letting me come on. I truly, really, really, really appreciate it. Just yeah, I appreciate, like Ashley said, holding space for us too. It's always good. It's healing for me to be able to talk to others about it, to help them heal or work through where they are at. So I really, truly appreciate it. I open myself up. If you need something, just need to talk to a girlfriend, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook. And I do have a bunch of books and stuff. I'll get it to Stacy. Like, I have a list of books you could just read for fun that are fiction that help you with your grieving process, that helped me. And I just want to share that with people. So Thank you so much for asking us to come and doing this.
You're
I
welcome.
so appreciate it. There will be other sessions that help us get and navigate through these holidays, as they are going to be rough. You know, some days are going to be easier than others, but I just implore you to do what you can and what you can't. Tomorrow will always take care of itself.
Amen. Amen.
Thank
So,
you, ladies. Everybody have a good night. Thank you for being a part of Black
Have a
Women Love
great
Football.
Thank you.
Go Browns.
right.
Oh my
Hey.
God. Rudy.
Amen.
The
Good
Fox.
night, ladies.
The Fox.
Good night.
Are we